If I had to list out what I spent most of my money on last month, you'd have to be on my car. Owning a car has become the second highest spending category for the average American household, falling short only of rent. Now, if you live in the Bay Area, you know that says a lot about how much it costs to own a car. How does a metal, oil-burning carriage meant to take us places end up costing us so much money? When we were 16 years old, all we could think about was getting our license so we could drive around with the radio all the way up in our very first car. Fast forward to adult life, and now cars are more of a tool rather than a form of entertainment. Well, maybe for some of us.
1, 2, 3!
Depending on where you live and how much you commute, owning a car could be costing you a lot of money. Last week, gasoline hit a 7-year time high. That means that it hasn't been this expensive to fill up your car with that sweet dinosaur juice in the last 7 years. Aside from the price of gas alone, driving every day has lost some of its appeal in my opinion for numerous reasons, leading me to switch to public transportation for my everyday commute. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or know me personally, you know I love my cars and that I love driving. So you might be asking yourself, what are these reasons that led me to ditch my car and hop in the train? Well, let's talk about it. In order for me to explain my reasoning behind switching to public transportation, I first have to give you some background information. I live in America, which basically means that if you don't live in New York, Chicago, or San Francisco, public transportation really sucks. Now, luckily for me, I do live in the Silicon Valley, so the VTA system gets a solid 7 out of 10. I have to walk roughly around 15 minutes to my train station, but because I ride my skateboard, I can actually cut that down to 8 minutes. If I want to keep my job and get to work on time, I have to be by the train station at 8:09, which would then drop me off in Mountain View at 8:20. I then have to skate another 8 to 10 minutes in order for me to get to work. After adding everything up, it boils down to around 23 minutes spent on the road. Now, the same commute done by car takes around 15 to 20 minutes, depending on what playlist I have on. Now that you know how long my commute is and what my options are, let's go over the 3 main reasons why I decided to ditch my car and switch to the train. Now, this might not be a surprise, but the reason number 1 was definitely cost. I tend to drive my car a lot, not only to work, but I also like to take my car on drives or just go to different places. But commuting 40 minutes every day for 5 days a week has definitely had an increase in my total cost of ownership of my car. Without accounting for gas, owning my car isn't actually that expensive, coming in at around $545 per year. Compare that to a 2016 Toyota Corolla, which comes at around $1,400 per year just in maintenance, and buying a used sports car starts to sound a little more justifiable. By reducing my consumption of gas, I was actually able to save a significant amount of money, about $90 to be more exact, which I probably just spent on coffee. The second reason to ditch my car for the train was time. Although listening to the Robin Hood Snacks podcast became a part of my morning routine, the 40 to 45 minutes a day I spent on the road was pretty much wasted time, and in my opinion, that time could be better spent working on schoolwork or on my YouTube channel. During my train rides, I took the time to get ahead of my weekly reading for school, write a script for YouTube, or go through my email. When it comes down to it, when busy, 20 minutes go by incredibly fast, and I'm always amazed by how fast the train actually feels. Now, the third reason that made me switch to the train was traffic. Now, I usually don't hit a lot of traffic on my way to work, but sometimes I will be stuck in traffic due to the new apartment complex that's being built on my way to work. Taking the train meant that regardless of the road conditions, the train would stick to its route and drop me off on time. If after watching this video you started to reconsider your commute, I wanted to point out the drawbacks of taking public transportation every day. This might come as a surprise to you, but depending on how long is your commute and what you drive, taking public transportation could actually not be saving you much money, if any. Now, taking a train will technically always cost less than driving a car. And that's because to take the train, all you have to do is pay for your ticket, versus driving a car, which in the long run end up costing you much more in oil, tires, and brakes. Now, assuming your car is very reliable, you change the oil on time, and you get 30 miles per gallon, taking the train could actually not be saving you that much money. You see, my ticket to the Caltrain is $250 to work and $250 on the way back, which comes down to $5 a day just in transportation. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but even in LA, with their crazy gas prices, $5 should get you a whole gallon of gas. My commute to work is around 17 miles round trip, which means that if I own a Toyota Corolla that gets 30 miles per gallon, taking a train would make no sense. But because my car gets a solid 18 miles to the gallon, it makes total sense for me to ditch the car and take the train during the weekdays. Another downside of taking the train is flexibility. When owning a car, the time you leave isn't that big of a deal. As long as you wake up on time You can take a little longer in the shower, take your time eating your breakfast, or even go for a run. When taking the train, you don't have that flexibility. If you accidentally spill coffee in your shirt and you have to change it, causing you to miss the train, that could cost you upwards of 15 minutes in commute time. Or say something comes up and you have to stay at work a little later, that whole process becomes much harder because now you have to factor in when is the next train that you can catch. Overall, if you live in a place where public transportation is well developed, you spend a lot of time on the road, and you want to save some money, you should definitely give taking the bus or the train a try. If not, choosing a car that gets a better gas mileage, is cheap and reliable, could also save you lots of money in the long run. Cars such as older model Toyota Prius or Honda Insight are great on gas and are fairly cheap, so buying one of those as your daily driver would actually be a very smart financial decision. With the money you save on gas, you can put it towards an index fund that earns you 8% annually, which can be done through your free Robinhood account that comes with free stock when you use my code in the video description down below. With all of that said, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss my next video. Also, make sure to hit that like button and turn that into a solid black so that way YouTube starts to recommend my videos to you. Make sure to make someone's day today. Peace.